The US plans to give Ukraine advanced long-range missiles to help with its ongoing counter-offensive against Russia. That's according to reports in the American media. They quote US officials familiar with the issue, saying Ukraine will get some long-range missiles similar to the ones we're seeing here, with a range of up to 190 miles. Now, that would allow Kyiv to hit Russian targets deep behind the front line. Neither the US or Ukraine have officially confirmed those media reports. Now, this comes as the Ukrainian military claims it struck the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea naval fleet in occupied Crimea with Storm Shadow cruise missiles supplied by Britain and France. The building in Sevastopol appears to have been hit by at least 2 missiles, causing extensive damage. Black smoke was still rising from Sevastopol hours after the attack. Russia's Ministry of Defense said 1 serviceman was missing. Meanwhile, President Zelensky's just wrapped up a week-long visit to the US and Canada, where he appealed to lawmakers for further support in the ongoing conflict. On Friday, Canada's Justin Trudeau pledged nearly $500 million in aid to Ukraine. That includes 50 armoured vehicles, as well as training for F-16 pilots and engineers to be delivered over a 3-year period. All that's in addition to a $325 million package from the US, announced during President Zelensky's visit to Washington, D.C. on Thursday. Well, earlier I spoke to Peter Zalmayev, who's the director of Eurasia Democracy Initiative. We began by discussing the long-range missiles the US is reportedly supplying to Kyiv.
Well, this is something Ukraine has been waiting for since probably the beginning of this war, or at least the beginning of Russia's offensive in the east. ATACMS missiles would be a significant addition to Ukraine's arsenal, which Ukraine, as you know, is already showing some success with its domestic, locally produced missiles, which was just demonstrated in Crimea. But there's nothing like the ATACMS missile. And what's more important is that it could open the door to German-made Taurus missiles, which are probably even better for what Ukraine needs. And Ukraine needs to continue hitting on Russian infrastructure targets, military hub, resupply lines in Crimea, in the south, the Azov Sea, to severely disrupt those supply lines. And already Ukraine has shown tremendous success in essentially neutralizing the Russian Black Sea fleet, which is sitting there and preventing Ukraine's grain exports from happening.
Well, let's talk about that. These claims from the Ukrainian military that they have struck the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea naval fleet. What do you make of that?
This was a tremendous demonstration of Ukraine's ability. Contrary to what some Western experts are saying, telling Ukraine not to get distracted with Crimea, to concentrate on the counteroffensive elsewhere. I think Ukraine's strategy is paying off. The Institute for the Study of War just came out on Thursday with the report, and it says that, I'm quoting, elements of the Black Sea Fleet's 110th Naval Infantry Brigade are engaged in critical defense operations in western Zaporizhia Oblast, and the Black Sea Fleet's 22nd Army Corps is defending positions in the east bank of Kherson Oblast, which is to say that obviously all these operations are very much tied together. So this is it's been part of Ukraine's broader effort to go after Russian logistics, fuel maintenance centers, and essentially, once again, to disrupt their supply lines. In short order, they took out a ship repair facility in Sevastopol, a military airfield in Crimea. They took out a very costly S-400 missile defense complex. And for the first time since World War II, they destroyed a Russian submarine. OK,
Peter, very briefly, though, there has been widespread consensus that the counter-offensive hasn't really gone as quickly as perhaps Ukraine had hoped. It hasn't, been on track. So what would you make of these latest developments when we look at the course of that counter-offensive?
I think they will very much aid in this offensive. And once again, I think we have to move from this position that Ukraine has a few more weeks to go, and that it'll have to put this counteroffensive on hold and negotiate with the Russians. First of all, the Russians are not going to negotiate. I don't know who said that they are willing to do that. And second of all, and Zelensky said that during his Canadian visit, once again, that Ukraine will not stop with the coming of cold and with weather worsening. Ukraine intends to plow through right through the winter and into the spring.